Hi, I'm Josh from eSpares, and in this video I'll be helping you to diagnose drying and heating problems in your tumble dryer. Now, assuming that your tumble dryer is heating but it's not drying your clothes properly, this is usually caused by a restriction somewhere in the airflow. Now, the first place that you should be checking is on the filter. Now, the filter in this case is inside the door. And you should be checking the filter essentially every time you use the dryer and making sure that it's clear of any lint or fluff. Now, once you're happy that that's all clear, if you have a condenser dryer, it's also possible for lint to fall down into the condenser where it gets wet and it gets stuck inside the vent, and over time it can build up and stop air from flowing through it. So take the condenser assembly out of the dryer and just have a look inside for any lint build-up. If there is any in there, the best way to get rid of it is to leave it to soak in some water for a few minutes and then just flush the lint out with either a shower head or with a couple of jugs of water, just to make sure that it's nice and clear. Now, it's also worth having a look inside behind the condenser assembly for any more lint or fluff that might have got stuck in there as well. Now, if you have a vented tumble dryer, it is possible for lint to build up in the hose. So just disconnect the hose from the back of the dryer and examine it for any lint or fluff that's got caught in there. If the hose is connected to a wall vent, the lint can also build up in the vent itself. So make sure the vent in the wall is nice and clear. Now, the airflow that comes out the back of the hose should feel like a powerful hair dryer. So just place your hand over the end and check to make sure it's of the right temperature and that you've got the right amount of air flowing through it. If your dryer isn't producing any heat at all, it may well be caused by a faulty heater. But in order to check it on this particular dryer, I need to remove the top, the side and the back panels. Now, before I have a look at the element, the first thing I can see after taking the back panel off is that the thermostat here is a resettable one. It has this little red button in the middle. Now, if I just press that, if you can hear any sort of clicking when you do it on yours, that would indicate that the thermostat had tripped, probably being caused by overheating. And you can just press that button to reset it, and that may resolve the problem. However, if the thermostat hasn't tripped, if I just turn the dryer around, we'll need to test the element. Now, these are the connections to the element here, so I just need to disconnect the plug. And then I'm going to grab my multimeter and place that onto a low resistance setting and place the probes of the meter onto the terminals inside the plug. Now, for a working element, I'm looking for a reading of between 20 and 50 ohms. And in this case, I'm getting about 25, 26. So that shows that the element is okay. If when you do this test on your element, the readings are dramatically different or outside that range of 20 to 50 ohms, then that could indicate the presence of a fault and you should replace the element. Once you've checked that the element doesn't have a fault, if you have a condenser dryer, the fault could be caused by a problem with the drainage and the reservoir. As water is extracted from the clothes, it builds up in a reservoir at the bottom of the dryer, and the water is then pumped up into the container in the tray here, where it's obviously taken out and emptied. However, if the tray isn't emptied out, the water is going to fill right up to the top, and as water tries to fill, it's going to overflow. Now the water then goes back into the tray and drains down through this pipe here into the reservoir. Now, as that reservoir gets more and more full, a float switch will activate and turn off the heater to prevent any more water being collected. So obviously the first thing to do is make sure that this container is always emptied before you start using your dryer. Now, when you're happy that the container is empty, a good way to check that the pump is working is just to remove the container and turn your dryer on and pour a glass of water into the tray here. It'll then drain down into the reservoir. If you then pop the container back in, the pump should be pumping the water through this pipe here into the back of the container. So just check that the water is coming back in, and that'll establish whether the pump is working or not. Now, if you need any help diagnosing other problems with your tumble dryer, check out our other eSpares videos. And spares for tumble dryers, along with other appliances, are available on the eSpares website. Thanks for watching.